back to the farm. It is Sunday morning, not too late, not too early, just about right. And I'm already behind for the week. I am currently doing an eating program called Whole30. This is an elimination diet, and as the name suggests, it's only for 30 days. So this isn't a diet or a life plan. Don't expect to see a lot of physical changes, but it's a way to get certain possibly reactive foods out of your diet for a little while, clear your system out, see how your body changes, and it'll help you see if any of your health issues might be food related. I'm not a dieter anymore. I've done my time with dieting. I've had bariatric surgery. I am who I am, and I'm comfortable with that. But I do know some of my bad food habits, and the biggest one is sugar. Or sweet even. It's not even necessarily sugar. I put 3 spoons of Splenda in every cup of tea I have, and I have 4 or 5 cups of tea a day. So that's a lot of artificial sweetener. I can't walk past a piece of cake without taking a bite. If it's sweet, I want it. So I'm hoping, I know after my bariatric surgery, because with a bariatric surgery, you cut everything out and slowly, very slowly reintroduce things. And for a while there, I was not having issues with sugar, but they have since come back. So that's my biggest goal with this, is to break my sugar addiction. Even if it's only temporarily, I can come back and do this again and break it again. And it's better to keep breaking that cycle than just living with it. And I know this from having a family member who was a smoker and who now no longer smokes, but had spent a long time going back and forth, but they persevered, and now they aren't smoking cigarettes anymore, and their health has definitely improved from that. So thank you for that role model. You know who you are. I'm not going to call you out here. So the biggest thing, and the biggest reason I wanted to do this now, it's a huge distraction from Morgan being gone. I'm not focusing on the fact that I'm not cooking for 2 anymore. I'm just cooking the menu that was put in front of me and eating it and getting on with my day. And I did find online a preset menu. Now I have tweaked it some. They had a lot of spicy food, and I can't tolerate spicy food. Some of the recipes have been meh. Chia pudding is not my thing. I tried it once, and I am not going back. So I've changed a couple of the breakfasts out. But it was a good starting point for me to not have to think so much about it. And like I said, I'm halfway through. I don't know that I'm feeling anything different right now. I'm in what the person who designed the menu I'm doing is calling, this isn't so hard, now give me a damn Twinkie. And I'm definitely in the, give me some real food. The first thing I'm going to have when I'm done with this is a whole pan of macaroni and cheese. I want carbs so bad. So what's eliminated from this is no grains of any kind. Pardon me. No grains of any kind. No beans. No sugar or sweeteners of any kind. So that means no artificial sweeteners, no honey, no stevia, no jackfruit or monk fruit, none of that. No sweeteners. No grains. I've lost it. So no grains, no beans. Oh, and no dairy. So no cheese, no milk. Eggs don't count as dairy for this. Eggs aren't dairy because dairy comes from a cow. But, and no alcohol, which that makes sense. Some of the things that you can have, thankfully, are potatoes. I've eaten a lot of potatoes and some sweet potatoes. Most meats. No processed meats in case it has sugar in it. You can have some, but you've got to read the ingredients really carefully. So you've got to get specialty mayonnaise. You can't have soy sauce because that's got soy in it, which is a legume. So no beans. Can't have hummus. You know, things that you normally think of as diet food, you can't have on this. So I am learning the wonders of kombucha. This is not sponsored, so no label. And so there may be a kombucha making video in our future. I don't know, but we'll see if this keeps. But it's a different, strong, sort of sweet flavor, but not really sweet. It's only got 50 calories for this whole bottle. So I'm trying to think. We found a really good wings recipe that I'm definitely going to hang on to, even though it's a Whole30 recipe. Again, some of the recipes have been great. Some of them have not been great. Some of them are like, yeah, I'll eat it. It keeps me going, and food is fuel. So we're going to keep on with that. Now, one of the things that you do as part of this program is you do a lot of meal prep at the beginning. So yesterday should have been my day to go shopping and do all my food prep. But I was on the road from 12 o'clock until I didn't get home until 9:30 last night. So I did manage to get all the shopping done, but there was no way I was gonna do cooking, except I did roast my spaghetti squashes that I have to use for a recipe today. So today I'm gonna do a bunch of my meal prep, and I thought maybe you'd like to come along with. So let's get breakfasts and lunches and a couple of dinners put together for this week. right. And that's a full morning. It is now 11 o'clock, so not too bad, 2 hours. I have 2 meals of these spaghetti squash fritters. These are going to be 4 breakfasts of just fried potatoes, which I'll have with scrambled or fried eggs. What else have I got? I've got soup in the crock pot for dinner tonight. I did those chicken bowls, which are going to be lunches for most of the week. The other half of the week will be the leftover soup and a couple of leftover meals that I've got. And I've got everything else for the week portioned out and ready to go when it's time to cook. I know meal prep is kind of the trendy diet fad of the moment, but really there's a lot to be said for meal prep. I've got some busy nights this week where I've got my class or I've got to be in town for one thing or another. So this way, most of the food is cooked. And if I want, I could have the meal prep bowls for lunch, for dinner, and make the dinner meal for lunch. Since I'm going to be here anyway with working, I can just be jumping up and down from my desk. So it just gives me a lot of flexibility. And I will probably continue to do at least some of this even after the Whole30 is over. Especially when you're cooking for one. Meal planning is really challenging, and I don't know how to cook for one person. I barely know how to cook for 2 people. So I've got plans for a lot of freezer cooking, especially with my surgery coming up. I need to put some food aside for the first couple of weeks when I really can't do anything. So a lot of skills being built here, a lot of self-knowledge coming out of this, like the fact that I can't stand chia. And I always go through, I don't know if you do, this time of year, I get really sick of my own cooking. And it's really hard to A, make good food choices, or B, eat anything at all. So this is a really good time of year for me to do this Whole30, even though a lot of the fruits and vegetables that they put on the menu is not in season. So it's not great for seasonal eating unless you plan to do it during the season. This would probably be great to do in July or August, but who wants to be doing this in July and August? Because that's when you want to be eating ice cream. I hope this was interesting. The week is just beginning, so who knows what's going to come, but I hope you stick around and come along with me. Welcome back to the farm. It is Friday, hallelujah. It's been a long, sluggy week, but at least it's been relatively warm. We've been above freezing all week. And the snow is melting. Well, the snow was melting, and now we're getting flip-flopping between rain and snow. Our forecast that I'm seeing calls for a dusting to 1 inch, but the mentor for my Master Gardener class says she's seeing a forecast that says for up to 6 inches. Now that's for a session we have the option to go to this weekend up in Utica, so maybe Utica is getting more snow than we are, or they're better at predicting lake effect snow up there than they are down here, or for down here, I'm not sure. But Either way, I knew the warmer weather was a complete lie. It's only not quite the end of February, and so we got a lot of winter left. But it's been nice to start thinking about spring. I can't do much outside. I'm tired of doing my indoor chores. I've actually been playing video games most of the week. If you're interested in books and video games, maybe try out Tiny Bookshop. Not sponsored, but I've been spending a lot of time with Tiny Bookshop the last few days. So I decided I needed to do something productive. So I'm going to do some mending. I've been getting into visible mending. I won't show you my jeans that I'm currently wearing because they have beautiful visible mending in a place that you don't show on YouTube. So, but I've really been enjoying learning sashiko, which is the patterned mending. So I've got another pair of jeans that I need to do some sashiko mending on, and this pair of jeans has ridiculously short pockets, so I'm gonna replace or extend the pockets on these jeans so I can wear them more regularly, because I really like them, except the pockets are miserable. So that's an easy enough fix, so come along and let's do some mending. I have pockets. Are they elegant? No. The stitching looks like a 12-year-old did it, which is about when I learned how to hand sew, so that seems appropriate. But it doesn't have to look pretty because nobody's going to see it but me when I put it in the laundry. And it's just going to make these pants so much more usable for me. That's one of the things that we tend to overlook when we talk about homesteading is everybody talks about the gardening and the animals, but there's a lot of the make-do spirit that goes into homesteading as well. There's a British series that I really like rewatching again and again and again called Wartime Farm. And it's about what farming life was like in the UK during World War II, because they were subject to blockade, so food couldn't get into them. So they had to really step up farming and agriculture in the UK to be able to feed their own people for the duration of the war and beyond. Rationing in the UK didn't end until the 50s. But they talk a lot about make, do, and mend, that you fix the stuff that you had, you repurpose things. So for example, one of the people made a hat for one of the other historians out of, it was a cute little women's hat that I would love to wear, made out of a men's hat that wasn't being worn anymore. So that repurposing. And the same is true with clothes. It's really wasteful to go out and buy the latest fashions all the time, both environmentally, financially. I've never been a person who did that. My whole adult life, I've gotten as many of my clothes from thrift stores as I can. Around here, it's harder to find good clothing thrift stores. I actually have to go to Syracuse to even find a Goodwill. So I'm having to work harder to thrift clothes. But on the other hand, I don't need a lot of clothes. And again, we're from this culture that you have to have the latest clothes every season or you're not socially appropriate or something. I've never been that way. We never had the money to be that way. I've lived in hand-me-downs my whole life. So that's just the mindset that I'm in. Now, if I need something good that will endure, then yeah, I will shell out money. My snow pants, I paid good money to get ones that fit me. Because again, plus size clothes cost extra. So you're paying more. So anything like this that you can do to make clothes last longer, more functional, like in this case, expanding the size of the pockets. Plus, it's just very satisfying to be able to fix something and not have to go out and buy something. I have the pair of jeans that I'm wearing right now are one of my favorite pairs of jeans, and I don't want to lose them. And now that I've learned how to do the sashiko mending, not only will I not have to lose them, they actually look even cooler now than when I got them. Speaking of sashiko, let me get the other pair of pants out and show you how we do that. All right, now these jeans, I caught the knee on a nail at a nursery, and I tried doing a different kind of embroidery patch job, but it ended up being really thick and puckering the fabric, and I didn't like that very much. So I'm going to take this out and put a patch behind it and use some sashiko patterns to do a flatter embroidery. So let me get this out and I'll show you what I mean. All right, so you can see that hole isn't very big. Like maybe the size of my thumb. So I don't have to do a very big patch. So what you do is you take some scrap fabric and baste it to the back side. So I'm going to do that. And you don't have to use denim for this. You could use any fabric. In fact, that can be a lot of fun, especially if you've got a bigger hole, to put some whole patterned fabric behind it. And then that will show through after you do your embroidery. But I had this denim already cut. And we're just basting it down with real big stitches, because we're going to pull those out later. A lot of times for this step, I like to use a thread that's a different color than what I'm going to do my embroidery with, but I can't find my colored embroidery floss. So I've just got to use the white and make do. All right. So that's just loosely held in. I'm not even going to knot this. I'm just going to leave it loose. And then I'm going to turn this right side out. Now, sashiko has a lot of different patterns and styles to embroider, to do your repairs. I've got this packet that I got that has a bunch of pre-printed different patterns. So depending on how complicated you want it, how simple you want it, you're just going to cut a piece of this. And what this is this is a washable paper. So I'm going to stick this to the fabric and do the embroidery over the top of this, and then just run it under warm water in the sink and rub it. And this is just going to disappear and there won't be a trace of it. Now, you don't have to do it this way. You could draw the pattern on with washable marker. The Crayola Kids markers are great for this. You can also buy fancy heat dissolving pens. Those work as well. I'm really bad at drawing straight lines, so I like this, although I did find out the folks I got these from also make a template so that you can draw on with those markers. So I may get those when I run out of this. I'm sorry, are you trying to help? This really is not helpful. And you're not supposed to be on my desk. Yeah, get down. All right, let's stick this down and then start embroidering. So I just cut a patch the size I needed out of that full sheet. And I'm just gonna set it down right on top of where the hole is. So now these stitches are going, each of these lines is a stitch, and we're just doing a running stitch. So I am going to go through and do all the straight lines first, and then all of the angled lines. And then once I've done all the angle lines, I'll go back through and put in the French knots. Now, I think I'm only going to do, the conjoined stars. So I'm not going to do this edge. So I'm going to start by doing this line here and this line here. And let's see how that looks. It's just a bunch of in and out until you've filled in all the dots. This is a more complicated pattern than ones that I've done before. Normally what you would do is you would follow all of the lines going in one direction and then go through and do all the lines going in the opposite direction until you've filled everything in. This doesn't really go up and down and side to side. This is going round and round. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to follow the angles until it gets to another long line, and then go through and do the long line, and then come back and fill in what I've missed. You can do this even on stuff that doesn't have holes in it. You can use it just for decoration. The lady that I follow, and I'll try and remember to put it in the description, her name and contact information. She does some really beautiful just decorating using this kind of embroidery. She's made this really cool snake bag that's got the sashiko inside the outline of the snake pattern. It's very cool. I have a shirt that Morgan left that I want to do an experiment on with that embroidery and see what I can make of it. You can use a lot of different kinds of thread for this. You could use just regular embroidery floss. I am using, for this, I don't know what you'd call this, crochet thread. So it's a heavier gauge, but because this is on the knee of a pair of pants, so it's going to get a lot of friction, I wanted to make sure that it was something that could withstand that. Regular embroidery cotton wouldn't be able to handle being rubbed as much as a knee would make it rub. So I don't want to have to redo this anytime soon. So I'm going to use something with a little more endurance. I want to say I got number 8 pearl cotton from the embroidery section at Michael's to do this with, which you can get balls of it, or you can get the skeins in a lot of different colors. Lord knows where I put it, because I can't find it anywhere, because I really wanted to do this in my signature purple, but here we are. But like I said, you can use anything. And because I'm working in the denim, I'm using a heavier needle so it doesn't bend like a regular embroidery needle might. A regular embroidery needle might actually work better. They're really sharp and they're thin, so they go through easier, especially with the denim. I did a pair of jeans for Morgan, and I ended up having to use a pair of needle nose pliers in a couple of places to pull the needle through, because it was even more than 2 layers of denim and it would not go. And I felt dumb and incompetent for having to do that until this woman that I follow, I saw her using a pair of needle nose pliers. It's like, okay, it's not me. I'm doing just fine. So don't judge yourself too harshly. The one thing I will warn you about, if you use these wash-off templates, I really like them. They're, that makes it really easy. I have found, depending on your needle, the adhesive from the back of the paper can gunk up your needle and make it harder to pull through. And I have also found that if you have a really big piece, be careful, because I have rubbed the pattern off the paper and then wasn't able to see where my neck stitches were supposed to go, and had to pull out the template and look at it to figure out, at least in my head, what it was supposed to look like. But this can be very meditative. It's just a running stitch. So you don't have to know any fancy embroidery stitches. It's just in and out, equal spaces between the stitch length and the space between the stitches. Just in and out, over and over and over. And you can do this with your own patterns. These are traditional Japanese patterns. But if you want to do spirals or whatever you wanted to do, you certainly can do that yourself. And that's the benefit of those washable markers, is you can make your own designs and draw them on and do them however you want. The things I have noticed is make sure you baste your patch down really well, because with all the flexing and moving that you're doing as you're doing this, the patch will shift and you will end up with it bunched, and those bunches may be uncomfortable depending on what you're patching and where the patch is. I am feeling this is a little bit bunched. I think it'll be okay, and it may be fine once I take the basting stitches out, but Morgan's, I had to cut into it to get a fold out that I'd gotten in the way. So be really careful with your basting. Pins, I wouldn't recommend using pins instead of basting, just because, as you can see, this is getting shifted around a lot and you're going to stab yourself any number of times. So go with the basting and cut it out. And again, I would suggest basting it in a different color thread than what you're doing your embroidery with. I'm going to just keep working on this, and I will show you what it looks like when it's all done. All right. About 2 hours later, we're done. I've made one big boo-boo, but it probably won't be very noticeable. That's on the front side. Now, you would think since it's just running stitch, the backside would look really nice. And for most people, it probably does. I'm not most people. That's an absolute mess. I have a really bad experience, I don't know, of my strings not coming all the way through when I pull through during doing embroidery. Even though I give it the tug to make sure, I get all these extra big loopies, and I had to cut a bunch of them because they were I was catching them on other threads. So I have to go through and tie all of those down and pick out the basting stitches and trim this down. So let me do that, and then I'll show you how this washes out. You can see there's where the hole was, and the pattern just stands there on its own. You can see there's the mistake I made. I wasn't supposed to do that line, but oh well. And you don't have to do that in the sink. You can just throw the whole thing in the washer and wash it and with the regular laundry, and then it'll be ready to go. So, but that's the fun part. I did get the back cleaned up a bit. It's not as bad as it was, but I'm sure a better embroiderer would do a much better job than I did. But, so there's my repair work for the day. That little piece took about 2 hours to do. So, it's not necessarily a fast process, but I think it's a much more forgiving process. I'm not a good seamstress, so anything that makes my life easier when I have to fix things, I have to find an easier way to hem, aside from sending stuff to my mother, because I am bad at hemming, and that's on my list of things to learn. But that gets me through that. That gets me through the week. It's Friday afternoon, so I am done for the week. I've got to run a bunch of errands tomorrow, and church on Sunday, and shopping for my last week of full-blown Whole30, and I'll report back on that after I come through the wind-down period. So you do the program for 4 weeks, and then over the next 2 weeks, you slowly reintroduce the things that you've excluded to see if you're reactive to any of it. So even though next week is my last full week doing it, I still have to eat the plan for another 2 weeks, except for the days when we're trialing the different things. But oh my God, I cannot wait for a piece of toast. I hope you have a lovely weekend. I'm highly doubting that we're going to have good weather next week, but I hope you'll come back and see what we do get up to. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.